So we're going to talk, like I said, we're going to talk about the monetary system or the money system. This isn't just the monetary system in the United States. We're going to talk about the United States, but it's the same in every single country in the world. Okay. Now, the best way to explain the monetary system is by using the game of Monopoly. Okay, we played Monopoly before, right? Now, Monopoly, let's say you have a board like this, right? And then you have, which is go here, you have the police or jail, right? Okay. And you have to pass go to get your paycheck, which was $200, right? And in the beginning of the game, everyone's handed out a certain amount of money. So you have your pile of money, and every player has their pile of money. And the goal of the game is to go around the board and try to buy as many properties as possible so you can make money and win the game. And this is how 99.9% of the people play Monopoly. You pass go, you collect some money, you buy a property, you put a house, you put a hotel, you try to avoid jail, you try to avoid paying for the tax as best you can in order to get as much money as you can to win the game. Now, in the game, when 99.9% of the people are playing, the only way to make money is you have to go around the board. You have to play the game. You have to collect the money in order to buy. If you are trying to buy an expensive property, you have any money, you have to mortgage off your property, borrow money from the bank to buy it, and then you have to pay the bank back, right? Everyone knows the game, right? That's how 99.9% of the people play not only Monopoly, but the game of life. You go to work, you make money, you collect your paycheck, pay your taxes, you pay your bills, you buy your food, you buy your stuff, pay your rent, you pay your electricity, your water, all that stuff, and you go through life. But there is 0.01% of the people who are triangle people who play this game completely different. Imagine first, avoiding this for now, but imagining first you're playing with 12 people this game, and you got one person who is the banker, right? And in this case, the banker is controlling the money. But in this case, the money is still limited because when you see a Monopoly game, there's a lot of money, but it's still limited. It's not unlimited, right? But if the banker is in charge of all the money and they are constantly stealing the money, like you have to go around the board to collect $200, but what if each turn they're stealing $20,000 from the bank? Do you have any chance of winning the game? No. Every property that comes up, they can buy. Every time someone is in need of money, they can buy it from you. They can make deals. What if, for example, he has Park Place and he wants to buy Boardwalk, and you have Boardwalk over here, and he wants to buy Park Place when you get Monopoly, right? Park Place normally costs what, $500 a Monopoly game? What if he says, "I'll give you $5,000"? That's a lot of money in the game of Monopoly. You'll say, "Sure, I'll take $5,000 from that." Did he go around the board to collect the $5,000? He stole it. He just took it. But now he has the monopoly, puts in the big hotels. Every time you land on it, bankrupt, bankrupt, bankrupt. Then he buys all the properties, and before you know it, he's got all the properties. And then he starts buying all the land. He starts giving, "I'm going to give you $2,000 for Illinois Place. I'm going to give you $3,000 for Baltic Way." And before you know it, the guy owns the whole board, and you've lost. Did he earn this money? Did he go on the board? This guy, technically, doesn't even, if he's got his little horse or whatever on the board, like he's playing a game, he can just take the place off the board. I'm not playing. I'm not rolling the dice. I'm just going to sit back. Doesn't have to pass go. See what I'm saying? Never goes to jail. Never lands on the taxes. Never has to pay anybody anything. But when he lands on anything or when anybody has a problem, he can buy the property from you outright. In a very short period of time, this one who's cheating is going to own the whole board. Make sense? No, don't bite your nails, sweetie. Okay, we're going to make them bad. No. Which gets back to this. Now, that's just the banker. The way these people play the play the game is completely different. It's the same way, but imagining not only owning the bank, but owning the bank that owns the bank, the central bank, the Federal Reserve. What's the Federal Reserve? The central bank is the bank that controls the money in one country. There's a central bank in every country. The Central Bank of India, the Central Bank of China, Central Bank of Saudi Arabia. In the United States, the central bank is called the Federal Reserve. It's the one who owns all the money in the country. They own the bank and they control the money in the country. This has nothing to do with federal. It's not owned by the government. It's owned by a private organization. It's literally owned by 13 bloodline families in the world. These are your triangle people, your sons of Cain. They're owned by 13 families, and they're owned by, these 13 families own 3 companies. The 3 companies are called BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard. These basically own everything. We'll get to that in a minute. But how did they get to own everything? Now here's a list. I printed up. This is just BlackRock. This is just some of the companies they own. I mean, they own, if you look at it, it's everything. They own every oil company, every electrical company, every water company, every train company, every drug company, every news organization, every company that manufactures and produces food, every department store that sells stuff, Amazon, Facebook, PayPal, Walmart. They own virtually every bank, and basically every franchise that sells food to us. They own everything. Did they buy it legitimately? You're going to find out that they did not buy it legitimately. They are one of the 1% people who have been cheating in the game of Monopoly or life. They've been cheating for 100 years. Now, the reason I'm telling you this is not to scare you. Like, again, 20 years ago, this would have been scary, but this is all falling apart on them right now. This is all falling apart because too many people know, and it's falling apart. Let's go. This is how their system works. Now, again, we have to go around and work. This is how they make money. Okay. Okay. They have their bank, for example. Okay. Now, when their bank needs, say, for example, their bank, like what's going on a lot right now, they've already bought every company pretty much in the world. And what they're trying to do now is to buy every house in the world. So what they want to do is buy every single home in the world. What they're doing is, like, if, for example, if someone asks for $1 million for their house, and a lot of people are making offers, I'll pay you $950,000, I'll pay you $975,000. Even get a person says, you're asking for $1 million for a house, I'll give you $1 million. BlackRock, which is the triangle company, is coming in. Okay, you're asking $1 million for the house? You got an offer for $1 million? We'll give you $1.3 million for the house. $300,000 more than you're asking for it. The other person goes, that's way more than they're asking for it. I can't do that. Who gets the house now? BlackRock. Where does that money come from? What's going on is when you get now, what's going on is when they get, for example, in a city, say we're talking about Las Vegas, you get 100 or let's say 1,000 homes that are up for sale. They want all those homes. So all of a sudden they say for example, they need $10 billion to get those homes. This is how it works. This is how their game works. The 0.01% game works. They need $10 billion to buy all those homes. They don't have $10 billion in the bank. They don't have anything in the bank. Everything is invested or spent. They don't have any money. If I go to the bank, and I've done this many times, I go to the bank and I say, I need $5,000, and my money is in the bank. I say, I need to get $5,000 of my own money out of the bank. You know what the bank tells me? We don't have $5,000 in here. I'm like, you're the bank. We don't have that kind of money. You have to take $2,000 out today, maybe $2,000 out tomorrow. We don't have $5,000. If we gave everybody $5,000, we would be out of money in a couple hours. They don't have that kind of money. They don't have think they have 10 billion laying around or 10 billion on the computer? No. But when they need 10 billion, what they do is how that works. This is going to be the abstract version. You can go into look at more complicated. But there in the world is what's called a what do they call it?
Your mom. My brain.
They call it a magic computer. The bank needs $10 million. They will call one of their friends in one of the companies that has the magic computer. Have you heard that before? Huh? No. Well, that's it though. The magic computer. There are I think there are 17 magic computers in the United States. The magic computers are in various places. There's one at the Federal Reserve, at the Fed. We'll just call it Fed right now. There's one at I think there's two at the State Department. There's one at USAID, this company that Elon Musk closed. USAID. That's it. USAID. I think that's how it is. USAID. But these magic computers are all over the country, but they're in triangle establishments. They say we need $10 billion. The magic computer gives them a check for $10 billion. But the magic computer is got $0 in its bank account. It's got a computer and it always has no money. It's not attached to a legitimate bank. It's not attached to a legitimate account. It's got always zero in there. But they can write a check for $1 billion. The $1 billion comes here. What then happens is the $1 billion appears in their computer as $10 billion. This check then goes to the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve starts printing up the money. They print up $10 billion. Brand new money. They just print it up out of nowhere. They print it. Okay? The $10 billion that they printed gets added to the national debt. $10 billion gets added. They make a bond, the U.S. bond. Bond is like a government share in the United States for $10 billion. This bond is sold to a foreign country like China. So now China owns $10 billion in shares in the United States. China then sends the United States Treasury or the United States Federal Reserve $10 billion in gold to buy the bond. Now the bond is technically worth more than $10 billion because they got to get interest. So that's why they're going to send the gold. They own a stake in the United States, but it's worth more. When they want to go to cash it in, they got like a 10% or 8% interest on it, so they get back more than $10 billion. Right. But they don't care about how much they get back. They want to own the stake in the United States because if they own stake in the United States, they can tell the United States what to do. But they sent the gold, $8 billion to the United States. This $10 billion in gold goes to the 13 richest families in England. And the Vatican. And like I said before, the $10 billion that was produced on the computer goes back to the national debt. Who then owes that money? The people. Did the people get anything from this? These guys just bought 100,000 homes in Las Vegas. Did they use any of their own money? No. All they did was put it in a fake computer, print up the money, and the money, guess where the cash goes? The cash goes to criminals by the pallets. Hamas, Mossad, the Sinaloa cartel in Mexico. So through all this money exchanging hands, none of the money goes into the hands of the people. And all the while, the rest of us have to keep going around the monopoly board, paying more and more taxes, and our taxes still go here. So they're playing a completely different game. That's why a lot of people are saying, how can you compete in this world? And the truth is you can't. Because for 100 years, they have been absolutely cheating. Putting fake money on a computer with just numbers. It's easy. Just add the numbers to the computer, charge the people, print up the money, send the money to gangsters, tell the people, you owe that money back, even though we have all the property. How did they get to buy all the companies in the world? Like trickery. And they own everything in the world. Other countries own the United States. And all the while, all the money that everybody is working, the 99.9% of the people who are working their asses off, all their tax money is going back to England and the Vatican to pay taxes, and it's not staying in the United States. How do things get done in the United States? By the criminals paying off politicians. And I'm talking about the politicians who are also criminals too. This whole thing is a big, giant money laundering scam. Now, this is just what happens in the United States. But this is also what happens in every country in the entire world. They all have their triangle people, they all have their crooked politicians, and they all have their gangsters working with them. Money's exchanging hands. The 0.01% are filthy rich by not playing Monopoly, not going around the board, not going to jail, not paying taxes, not playing the game, just producing money out of nowhere and charging the people for the money they stole. And we're at a point right now where the national debt is past 37 trillion. And the fact of the matter, the $37 trillion, 100% of it is fraud. The people of the United States don't really owe anything. That's how much money they have stolen from the government. That's why they own all the properties. That's how much money they have stolen. We don't actually owe the money, but they say we do. But the whole national debt is 100% fraud. That's why they're saying this whole thing right now, it's at the brink of collapse right now, because it's enough is enough. It's obvious that something is wrong, and it has to collapse. Once it collapses, it will go back to a monetary system attached to gold, where this whole money laundering scam of producing fake money in a computer, in a magic computer, is going to have to end. That makes sense? Yeah. Okay. Any questions? Okay. Again, I'm not showing you this to scare you guys, but I'm showing you this. This is why it's so hard to work. I mean, they own everything. They own all the insurance companies. And that's all the prices of everything keeps going up and up and up because they're trying to kill everybody. They're trying to choke everybody to death. Because they choke everybody to death, you can't pay your houses, then they can buy all the homes. Why would they want to buy everybody's homes? Huh? If they own all the homes, where are the people going to live? No, not necessarily. You're going to have to rent a house from them. And if you have to rent a house from them, you're going to have to pay them what they want or do what you're told. You want to live in one of our houses? You're going to have to take this shot of radiator fluid, and you're going to have to shut your mouth, and you're going to have to work as a slave in our factory, and you're going to have to do what we tell you to do. And if you ever speak up, we're going to kick you out of our house and put you on the street, like you said a minute ago. So the reason they want to own everything is because they want to make everybody into 100% absolute slaves, where do what you're told, or we'll kick you out and we'll fire you from the company of ours that you own. If they own everything, then you're a slave. You have no, what they're doing is they're removing choices. If they remove all the choices, if you have where to work, where to buy your food, where to eat, where to get your gas, where to get your electricity, where to get your insurance, if they remove all the choices and there's no choices, then that's called a monopoly. Everybody knew a long time ago the dangers of monopoly. If you have a monopoly, this is a monopoly of life. If you own a monopoly in everything, the person who owns a monopoly controls everything, can tell you how much you're going to pay, how much you're going to give, how much you're going to get, how much poison they can put in your food, how much poison they can put in your water, what kind of medical services you get. We're going to give you, we're not going to let you get treatments for cancer because you don't deserve it. So if they control everything, they tell you how long you can live, how you can live, how you can enjoy yourself. They can even tell you if you're allowed to keep your kids or not. Because they own everything, the hospitals, the police, the government, the courts, everything. That's a danger. This whole thing has to collapse. The sooner the better. The sooner the better. The sooner this whole thing collapses, the better. Because then we can get back to an honest, real system. Guys, any questions?
No.
And that wasn't to scare you guys. That's to let you know it is a fact that it is collapsing right now. And it is seen by how gold is going up. Right now, gold and silver. Silver is at $52 an ounce. It was at $55 an ounce last Thursday. When gold gets that high, the banks will collapse. Why will the banks collapse? Let me just talk about that. This wasn't going to talk about this, but yeah, there's more room here. Left my eraser over there. Okay. I have room here. I can just do it here. We talked about last year. Remember we talked about what was that? It was fractional reserve. Remember that? What's that?
Don't know.
It has to do with banking. Does the bank, if you go to the bank, if I put $1 million in the bank, if I had $1 million, if I had $1 million and I put that in the bank.
Now what the hell?
Are they going to keep that $1 million there in case I need it? Do they have to keep that in there? No. They have to keep a fraction of it. A fraction. Question mark. That's fractional reserve. The bank only has to hold a percent. Now, back in the olden days, it was 10%. They had to hold 10%. So 10% of the money had to be there. A fractional reserve of 10% would have been a fractional reserve of 1/10. So it would have been a 10 fractional reserve. Now it's like in the thousands, which means if you give them $1 million, they only have to keep $1,000 there. The rest they can spend, loan, buy something with it. They don't have to keep it there. That's a fractional reserve. So the money is not. That's why when you go to the bank, they don't have any money because they don't have to keep the money. It's fractional reserve. They only have to keep a small portion. There is a fractional reserve on silver. Okay? And the banks need to keep silver below $28 an ounce. When they can keep the value of silver below $28 an ounce, the banks make money.
Oh my God.
When you buy silver from a company like a bank or like one of those investment companies, there's two ways of buying it. You can say, I want to buy some silver. I want the coins sent to me. That's how I buy it. Give me the coins. They send it to you in the mail, and you have the coins in your hand. Okay? The other way is saying, I'll buy it, but you guys hold it for me in a safe, which they don't. They only have to keep a proportion of it. I don't know what their fractional reserve is, but they only get to keep a portion. If you buy paper, silver, say for example, you bought 1,000 ounces of silver, paper silver. Do they have 1,000 ounces of silver? Absolutely not. If you call and say, I need my silver, we can't send you the silver. We don't have it. They would then, if you wanted the silver, they would then have to go buy the silver and send it to you. What if you bought the silver at $20 an ounce? And you want your 1,000 ounces back now because it's getting up to, it's $50 now. It's 50 right now. It's $52 an ounce. I want my silver now. At this point, the silver cost you $20,000, right? You gave them $20,000. They could have bought the silver at that point, but they did not. They gave you a piece of paper saying we owe you 1,000 ounces of silver. You want your silver now? What are they going to have to pay for your silver to give it to you?
No, wait.
$52,000. They're going to have to pay almost triple the amount that you gave them for the silver. What do you think is going to happen if 100 people say, I want my silver now? It's going to collapse. So when it happens is right now with the bank, with the silver being at $52 an ounce and going up every day, the banks are going to collapse. Because if you look also at the national debt, there is, let me look on the phone. Because it says rather than the national debt, a national. Some of the stuff you don't have to memorize, you can just look it up. Did I ever show you that before?
Yes. Wait, I can't see it.
Yeah, you did.
Show the camera too. That's the national debt clock, and it's constantly. You see how the numbers are constantly going? They're constantly moving because that's constantly moving. You see that? It's constantly moving. The national debt right now is $37.5 trillion. Silver. Let me find it. Here, see this one? What's that say? The number 359.
139. Yeah. Which one are you reading?
The one about the one says 350. What does that say?
139.
It says paper to silver ratio. Now, can you see that?
Yeah.
Paper to silver ratio, right? See that? Paper to silver ratio. Here.
Oh, okay.
See that? What does that mean? Well, the number is 359. 359. Use your detective skill. I'm 359. Paper ratio. What does that mean? Think. 359 paper ratio. We're just talking about paper. Give you a hint. For every 1 ounce of silver, exactly. For every 1 ounce of silver that they own or that exists in the world, they've sold 359 paper issues. So if there is 1 million ounces, and there's more, but if there's 1 million ounces of silver in the world, and again, there's more, these guys owe 359 million. As soon as they give out the first million, they still owe 358 million ounces of silver. Once silver gets up to $60 an ounce, 70, 80, everyone's going to get frantic. I want my silver, I want my silver, I want my silver. Boom, boom, boom. All the silver is going to go, all the money is going to dry up, and they're still going to owe billions and millions of ounces worth of silver, and the banks are going to collapse. That make sense? So every day that the silver stays above $28 an ounce, the more the banks lose and lose and lose until the banks eventually they're going to go bankrupt. They're going to collapse, and this whole nightmare that we just watched over here is going to fall apart. That makes sense.